With hits like Talk Dirty to Me and Every Rose Has Its Thorn, Poison was one of the most widely successful hair metal rock bands of the 80s. However, life outside of the music wasn't always great. Here's the dark tale of Poison. In the late 1960s, 6-year-old future rock star Bret Michaels became increasingly and seriously ill. His parents took him to the emergency room, where doctors diagnosed him with type 1 diabetes, an autoimmune disease in which the body stops making insulin. Michaels was immediately placed on a daily regimen of multiple insulin shots. He was also told to frequently check his blood sugar levels with a finger-sticking device. For Michaels, managing his diabetes would require balance. If he takes too much insulin, his blood sugar drops and he can pass out. Sadly, this happened to the singer in the late 80s at a show in Madison Square Garden in New York City. Michaels didn't feel his blood sugar getting low, and he collapsed on stage as a result. Type 1 diabetes is a chronic condition with no cure. Michaels continues to deal with diabetes-related setbacks. In 2018, he tweeted that he'd been admitted to emergency rooms several times over the previous weeks because of diabetes-related kidney and heart issues. As the lead guitarist of Poison, DeVille was one of the driving forces behind the band's signature sound. But after years of unreliability, backstage fights, and substance abuse issues, the members of Poison decided they'd finally had enough of DeVille. After the release of Swallow This Live in 1991, Poison dismissed DeVille and replaced him with guitarist Richie Kotzen. DeVille didn't go away quietly, though. In 1992, Poison singer Bret Michaels guested on Pirate Radio Saturday Night, a nationally syndicated hard rock radio talk show hosted by Lon Friend. DeVille called the studio, and while Friend declined the guitarist's request to go on the air, he taped the ranting and raving call. Metal fans and radio insiders traded tapes of the conversation for months. Kotzen only lasted with Poison through 1993, with DeVille rejoining his old band in 1996. But following a summer tour in 1999, he was once again out of Poison due to creative differences. When asked about his decision to fire DeVille for a second time, Michaels had this to say: CC would only play the material he originally worked on. He just wanted to rehash the old Poison stuff and work on his new band. That new band, Samantha 7, also led to some animosity when Michaels and other members of the Poison family refused DeVille's insistence that Samantha 7 be the opening act on a planned summer 2000 tour. Richie Kotzen played on just one Poison album, 1993's Native Tongue, and toured with the band for a limited time, which he didn't enjoy. Kotzen told Electric Basement, "When I made the record, it was fun. Where it got to be a drag was when I had to play the old music." In retrospect, it didn't look like Kotzen would be with the group for the long haul anyway, and he further destroyed any good standing he had with the rest of Poison because of a choice he made in his personal life. According to Metal Edge, the band was about to hit the stage for a concert in Sacramento, California in July 1993, when drummer Rikki Rockett learned that his former fiancée, who had dumped him and called off their engagement earlier that year, had taken up with a new guy. You guessed it, Richie Kotzen. As a result, Kotzen was immediately tossed out of Poison. Along with the joys of being in a successful band, the pressures can get to its members, be they creative differences, the rigors of touring, or personal disagreements. For Poison, that tension erupted into fisticuffs on more than one occasion. On Fox Sports Radio's Steve Gorman Sports Show in 2015, singer Bret Michaels recalled the time he and guitarist DeVille got into it at a New Orleans sports bar after some drinking. Eventually, the two were physically separated. However, when DeVille and Michaels got back to the hotel, they started beating each other up once more. Another dust-up between DeVille and Michaels occurred in 1991 after Poison performed at the MTV Video Music Awards. During the band's performance, DeVille delivered a sloppy, error-plagued performance. Michaels was unhappy with DeVille's performance and let the guitarist know it. As a result, DeVille and Michaels came to blows after the show. Furthermore, fans who came to see Poison in Atlanta in 2006 were treated to an extra, non-musical encore. After getting into a verbal argument, singer Michaels and bassist Bobby Dall engaged in physical violence. Michaels tossed his microphone at Dall, and Dall rammed his bass into Michaels' knee. Further damage was prevented when roadies and drummer Rikki Rockett broke up the fight. Writing about the incident on Poison's website, Bret Michaels had this to say: "That stuff has been building up for 20 years. We are like brothers, and sometimes brothers want to beat each other up." The hair metal bands of the 1980s and early 1990s were renowned for their legendarily hard-partying ways, as much as, or even more so, than they were for their unique brand of radio-friendly glam hard rock. The numerous pre-show parties, backstage parties, and after-concert parties got out of hand for some hair metal participants, such as longtime Poison bassist Bobby Dall. The musician drank excessively during Poison's heyday, and one such example was preserved for posterity. In the music video for Every Rose Has Its Thorn, Dall is so drunk that he can't even stand. Remarking on the video, Dall told the Green Bay Press-Gazette, "There's a scene where you see me where I'm wasted and I fall down, and I'm literally being picked up by my guy that worked for me at the time. That scene, I am drunk and wasted in." In 1993, Dall checked himself into a substance abuse rehabilitation facility, and today he identifies as an alcoholic and drug addict in recovery. In January 1997, Poison, a band not much in the news by that point anymore after the death of hair metal and the ascendancy of alternative rock, made some scary headlines. MTV News reported that Bret Michaels had hired a private investigator to look into the reasons behind increasing threats to his safety. Over the course of a few months in 1996, Michaels' Nashville home was set on fire, his dog had been killed, and his truck had been tampered with in such a way that a tire fell off while he was driving. Michaels believed that the meaning behind all of these assaults on his life and property was intimidation and revenge for his refusal to sell a video he'd once made with his former girlfriend, actress Pamela Anderson.
"What are you doing here?"
"I'm looking for a light."
Just kidding. It wasn't anything as embarrassing as barbed wire. It was just a private video of them being intimate. Nevertheless, in 1998, a company called Internet Entertainment Group commercially released a video full of footage of Michaels and Anderson's intimate encounters, which it claims it obtained via, quote, "a non-disclosed authorized source." Michaels didn't authorize the video, though, and according to his lawyer, spent $100,000 trying to prevent the tape's release, which may have been stolen and leaked by a former employee of Michaels. Poison drummer Rikki Rockett appeared on an edition of the SiriusXM hard rock-themed show Eddie Trunk Live in 2015, where he discussed his months-long ordeal in fighting cancer. After suffering from a severe sore throat in June of that year, Rockett sought medical attention. A biopsy at USC Medical Center indicated oral cancer, specifically a malignant tumor at the base of the drummer's tongue that had also spread to 2 nearby lymph nodes. This type of cancer is fortunately very treatable, but it's not pleasant. Rockett endured 9 rounds of intense chemotherapy, followed by 35 rounds of radiation. After effects included a rash and so many canker sores that even drinking water was painful. Rockett also divulged that his tongue cancer, in all likelihood, developed out of a case of the human papillomavirus, or HPV. In July 2016, just over 1 year after his initial diagnosis, Rockett received a clean bill of health.
"I am a cancer survivor."
After virtually disappearing from mainstream pop culture by the mid-90s, hair metal bands like Poison were celebrated in the stage show Rock of Ages. The jukebox musical used pre-existing songs to tell its story set in LA's Sunset Strip rock clubs of the 1980s. Rock of Ages debuted on Broadway in 2009. The musical featured 2 Poison songs, and so the 2009 Tony Awards opened with Poison performing Nothin' But a Good Time alongside Rock of Ages cast members. Bret Michaels rocked it out and got the theatrical elite pumped up for the evening. However, at the end of the song, Michaels attempted to walk off the stage only to be pummeled by a descending Broadway backdrop. The heavy signage knocked him flat out. As a result, Michaels suffered a fractured nose and needed 3 stitches in his lip. Michaels filed suit against the Tony Awards and broadcaster CBS in 2011, alleging that in addition to facial injuries, he had to cancel several concerts and suffered from neurological issues. The legal matter was settled out of court. According to ABC News, Bret Michaels suffered a string of alarming and potentially fatal medical emergencies in April 2010. Early in the month, Michaels was all set to take the stage for a concert in San Antonio when he fell suddenly and seriously ill. He planned to perform anyway, but was ultimately rushed to a local hospital instead, where he endured an emergency appendectomy. Michaels wrote on his website, "They told me that if I had gone on stage like I wanted to, my appendix likely would have ruptured and I could have died." About 2 weeks later, Michaels was recuperating at home when he heard what, quote, sounded like a handgun. The loud popping noise wasn't a bullet, it was something internal. After finding he couldn't think straight, speak correctly, or move his head, Michaels asked girlfriend Christy Gibson to take him to a hospital. Soon after, doctors diagnosed Michaels with a massive brain hemorrhage, which was causing the base of his brainstem to bleed. Michaels was subsequently listed in critical condition as doctors treated him. After spending some time in a physical therapy facility, however, Michaels made a full recovery. He told the Wall Street Journal,
You know what happens to me in your life at that exact moment? What happens is I found more of a drive for life.
After the Tony Awards accident, emergency appendectomy, and brain hemorrhage in rapid succession in 2009 and 2010, Bret Michaels wasn't out of the medical woods quite yet. After noticing that the left side of his body had grown increasingly numb in the middle of shooting The Celebrity Apprentice, Michaels immediately returned to the Arizona medical facility where he'd been treated for the hemorrhage.
He was popular. Everybody loved Bret.
In May 2010, doctors diagnosed Michaels with a case of patent foramen ovale, or PFO. Put more simply, it's a small hole in the heart that forms when babies are in the womb. The hole helps to circulate blood, but almost always closes up after birth. In Michaels' case, however, the hole never closed. Michaels' PFO, discovered when he was in his late 40s, led to a stroke in which a blood clot traveled all the way to the singer's brain. Months later, in January 2011, Michaels successfully underwent surgery to permanently seal and fix the hole in his heart. Poison just might be one of the most sued bands in rock history, facing courtroom battles over nearly its entire history. In 1987, the head of media relations at Geffen Records sued Bret Michaels and Bobby Dall for $1.1 million and filed a formal criminal complaint alleging battery after the duo dumped beer and ice water on her at an after-show party. Then, in 2011, a relatively obscure band called Kid Rocker sued Poison for allegedly stealing some of their songs more than 20 years earlier. According to The Hollywood Reporter, in 1984, Poison guitarist C.C. DeVille auditioned for Kid Rocker. Members Billy McCarthy and James Stonich gave him a tape of their songs, which they believe DeVille later stole and used as the basis for 4 Poison songs, including Talk Dirty to Me and I Won't Forget You. The suit, filed in Illinois federal court, alleged copyright infringement and named Poison, Capitol Records, and EMI Music as defendants. The lawsuit, however, was dismissed in 2013. Once again, Poison had survived. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more grunge videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.